Back in the 1960s I had a Messerschmitt bubble car, and I used to enjoy just driving off from Bristol, where we lived in those days, and exploring, going to little places, walking around and discovering what the places were like. And one of the first sights I ever had of WATCHET was this same view. I went exploring around and climbed up here. And that must have been back in the days when the trains were running under British Rail. Don't recall seeing any trains, but this site is I've got in terms of an old colour slide, and it's interesting to see how many houses have been added to the view compared to what I saw then. There's a big hotel at the top of the hill here then, which has turned into flats since. Yeah, the rest of the day, having explored this part of WATCHET, we went on to Dunster. There was a friend as well, and his Messerschmitt. We went on and explored Dunster afterwards, and then back to Bristol at the end of the day. There's a lorry coming down the hill now into the paper mill. Years ago, of course, the paper mill used to be supplied by the railway. They had their own siding. That wind is getting stronger by the minute. It seems such a shame when there's a bulk item like waste paper, and then the end product, new fresh paper, again in bulk. But wait for this wind to die down a bit. They can't make use of the railways for boat transport. Because the paper mill does provide the largest lorries that run around in this area. I don't know how many lorry visits there are a day, but it must be a dozen or more in and out. Years ago, supplies for the paper mill used to come in by sea. I was landed at WATCHET Harbour. You can just make out the sea in the distance there, just over the crest of that those hills. And there's just a little sign of it, but that's where the harbour is, that direction. You might be able to pick out the crane in the harbour there. The tree would blow out of the way for long enough. Yeah, there it is. That is where WATCHET Harbour is, which of course is now mainly a marina for pleasure boats. Back in its heyday, WATCHET used to import timber as well as paper for the paper mill. Coal used to come in there. And they used to export iron ore, of course, from the Brendan Hills, which was fed by the West Somerset Mineral Railway, which also came down this same valley in parallel with the West Somerset Railway. In fact, where I walked in this morning, there's a roadway. Was where the West Somerset Mineral Railway straphead was. used to pass underneath the West Somerset Railway. Well, that's where we're looking now. And follow the West Somerset Railway all the way up as far as Washford, where the two railways diverged. The church on the hill has got an unusual name. It's known as St Decumans, and apparently there's only one other St Decumans church in the whole of the UK, and that's, as you might expect, it's in Wales, because this church was founded by a Welsh pilgrim saint who came across the Bristol Channel a long time ago and set up his own church here. And there's quite a bit of folklore associated with that journey. It was said that he came across a fairly stormy sea there, because the Bristol Channel is where the River Severn, oh look at that pheasant just landed, River Severn joins the Irish Sea. And he was in a little rowboat and he had a cow with him that gave him milk. And he landed with this cow and made his way to this part of the world, looking for a site for his church. And the locals weren't too pleased to see him. So after he annoyed enough of them, he was set upon and his head was cut off. But St Decuman thought, well, this isn't any good, how am I going to get my church now with my head cut off? So he picked up his head, walked to a local spring, washed it, and reaffixed it on his shoulders, and came back up the hill and carried on creating his church. And that little spring is known as St Decuman's Well. It's commemorated for a miracle where he was able to cure himself of a fairly savage wound and build his church. Occasionally that church opens its doors and you can actually climb up to the top of the tower. And some years ago I filmed up from up there. I was able to film a West Somerset Railway train all the way from Washford and through WATCHET on as far as Willerton, because you could make out the railway tracks all that distance around the valley. Many people who come to watch it looking for steam trains are fooled by seeing this and think, oh, there's a steam train coming. But it's steam from the paper mill. Looks as if the seagulls are heading towards the sea now. Well, half an hour later, the train is just entering WATCHET station. Not with much steam, so you might have a job to pick him out. There we are, that's better. Bring on some power for the climb up. Yeah, that was worth getting cold for. I think the driver was enjoying himself.